Hello, and thank you for joining my career talk today. Today, I hope you guys will stick with me. I'd like to talk about something that, as a fellow Colorado native, I know is probably not on the forefront of your minds, but it is something that we desperately need more people involved in around the world. And so today, I'd like you to join me in discussing a career in marine sciences and conservation. So thank you very much, and let's get right into it. Right, so like I said, I'm going to be talking about a career that maybe hasn't been on your guys' radar, just like it wasn't on mine. And to talk a little bit about myself first, my name is Chad Scott, and I am a graduate of Evergreen High School and the University of Colorado at Boulder. Always thought I would have a career doing something in the mountains or with forestry, but that all changed very rapidly when I took my first trip down to the ocean. Talk a little about how I got into a career of marine conservation before we talk about how you can. So I started off, I was doing a project. It's called a undergraduate research opportunity grant from the University of Colorado, and that grant provided us the opportunity to go out to Thailand and learn how to scuba dive and how to take data on coral reefs and how to work on artificial reefs. And so we were supposed to be there for 3 months, but it ended up being a lot longer and I never wanted to leave. And so I started up the New Haven Reef Conservation Program in 2007, which was a for-profit marine conservation program on the island to manage the marine resources. And with the success of that, I also went on to run a community group on the island, and then more recently started the group Conservation Diver. And Conservation Diver, the idea behind that nonprofit is to try to encourage more people to get into the marine sciences and the marine conservation world. And when I say marine conservation, what exactly is the point of that, and why do we need to have marine conservation? Well, as some of you may know, coral reefs are the most productive, oldest, and most biodiverse ecosystems on the entire planet. But the other record that they currently hold is that they're also the most threatened ecosystem on the planet. And so we really need to start looking at them and what's going on. Although they cover only about 0.1% of the ocean floor, they support 25% of all marine life. And so if the reefs are threatened, about 25% of all marine life is threatened as well. Now, a conservationist is a marine scientist, but what I see a lot of scientists do is they discover the problems, they write a paper on it, and they move on. And they they track down the next problem and evaluate that, and it's great. We need that. We need people discovering what the problems are and doing the science on that. But my perspective was kind of, why do the science if we're not going to act on it? And so a conservationist is someone who takes all that science, the biology, the chemistry, ecology, and all that, and turns that into action. Action involving policy, engineering, on-the-ground activities of protection and restoration. And all of this starts with science. So many of the people who are marine conservationists come from a science background, and that's the typical route. So you might be thinking about marine biology or one of these fields, and so we'll delve more into how you can try to find the diversity of the different knowledge and skills that can be brought to the table when it comes to marine conservation. So let's talk a little about what do marine conservationists do. Well, one of the first things that we do is a whole lot of research. If we're going to go out and start to manipulate these ecosystems and try to protect them, we have to have a really good idea of what's going on. And often this research is on the ecosystem level, identifying threats and things like that. But other times it's on the organism level and just learning about these unique and interesting organisms that are under the ocean. The other thing we do is a lot of monitoring. We have to assess the ecosystems, decide where we need to implement our activities, where we need to put our resources and our time, in order to protect or restore these ecosystems. So a lot of what a reef conservationist does every day is going out to monitor different areas of the reef, usually through scuba diving. Once we identify issues or problems, then we move on to protection. This would include cleanups, artificial reef deployment to remove divers and other visitors from these natural areas, implementing mooring buoys, this kind of stuff. It is a lot of fun, but goes to make sure that we don't have to restore reefs. Now, often, we always prefer to protect rather than restore, but often we don't really have that luxury. So the last thing that we get involved in, one of the last things, is restoration. And restoration is going and putting our time, our energy, our money and resources into actually speeding up the redevelopment of these ecosystems so that we can maintain their value in terms of their resources and also their biodiversity. And then we also spend a lot of time educating, going out to the local communities and listening to their needs and desires and trying to reconcile those with other stakeholders. We do a lot of education and outreach with children, trying to get them to understand these issues much earlier so that they can start to address them. But it doesn't just mean that you have to be a scientist. With Conservation Diver, we always say, it's easier to teach a scientist to scuba dive than it is to teach a scuba diver to do science. But it doesn't mean that we can't take people who are not scientists. So if you're not on a science track, don't feel like you can't contribute to protecting and saving our oceans. Our team is very diverse and made up of many people with many different skills. So you'll see this list here. We do a lot of construction, welding, engineering, both and also including electrical engineering. We do scuba diving. We need people marketing, writing, doing the outreach, and taking care of everything that goes around a business around marine conservation. So just because you're not a scientist doesn't mean you can't get involved in all of this. And in some cases, we actually kind of really desire non-scientists in this field because they come with different ideas and different skills. And the problems of the oceans are so great that we really need everybody addressing this right now, no matter which background or field of education, knowledge, skills that they do come from. There is a way to find a way to utilize those skills within the realm of marine conservation. So just for example, you can see this is my team over on Koh Tao a few years ago. These are all my colleagues, and although some of us are marine ecology or science, a lot of us are not, and everybody contributes equally to the team. Everybody teaches the courses, everybody does the underwater work. They get that training on the ground, and they use the skills that they bring to the table to help further the goal of the entire program as a whole. Now, a lot of people, when you're in high school, you're thinking, well, can I make money? Is there demand for this job? Am I going to end up with a degree that I can't use? And so I always get the question, is there really demand for marine conservationists? And the answer is an absolute yes. Anywhere you look with marine ecosystems and resources, they're being depleted and going away. There are no optimistic marine researchers out there, especially in the coral reef world. We've already lost 90% of the coral reefs in the Caribbean, 50% of the Great Barrier Reef is already gone, and most reef scientists think that coral reefs could be functionally extinct by the year 2050. So that's still well within the time of all of your careers. So it's a very urgent situation that we need everybody addressing. So yes, absolutely there is demand for these jobs all over the world in every marine ecosystem, not just in coral reefs. So what kind of work can you get? I chose to work initially to start a for-profit conservation center. So we were teaching people pay for that teaching. We use that money to do the projects we need to do underwater. We don't have to rely on grants and things. So that's one area that, if you're interested and you're business savvy as well, you could look into. There's also government agencies. We work very closely with government agencies, Department of National Parks, Department of Marine and Coastal Resources, and others, to ensure that we are assisting them and that we can fill in the gaps with the work that they're doing. We also work with non-government agencies and nonprofits. There's a lot of academic jobs out there doing research and building the foundations of knowledge in these areas. And then there's also corporate and business interests that are involved in these types of activities. So if you decide that this is the kind of industry that you want to go into, there's many different facets of it that you can find yourself pursuing based on your particular interests, skills, and really the opportunities that you have available to you. Now, for me, I got over to Thailand. I had no interest in ever pursuing anything with the marine as a career, coming from Colorado and being afraid of sharks, jellyfish, and everything else under the water. But I quickly changed all those because I must say, when you're looking for careers and you're thinking about balancing money versus how you want to spend your life, I chose not to really worry about the money and look at some of the other perks that you get from this job. One of them, the first one, is that you get to live in incredible areas. I've never been to a coastal area that I didn't like and didn't enjoy living at. So that's one of the perks, is you're always working in a good area. You're never sitting in a cubicle. You're never in an office building. You never have to deal with any of that. You also get to do a lot of great interactions, with the marine environment that other people might not get to do. Usually when you're scuba diving, the rule is don't touch anything, and that's obviously a very good rule. But if we have the training, then we're going into these ecosystems to monitor, protect, and restore them. Then we are interacting with them. We are interacting on a deeper level with these ecosystems. And that always is very rewarding. We go home at the end of every day feeling like we've done something great. We can look at what we've completed for that day. And for me, that's just really rewarding and is way more important than how much money we make doing it. We also get to interact with some very unique organisms, endangered species. Many of our programs, we have sea turtle nurseries, giant clam nurseries, these species that are on the endangered species list that most people will never get to see. We're interacting them all day. In the morning, we're taking care of them. In the afternoon, we're feeding them and cleaning the tanks. And, one day after all that, we get to release them back into the ocean, healthy and strong. And so it's an incredible experience that not many people will get to experience, and in the future, maybe nobody will get to experience if we don't do a good job. We also get to interact with, many of the most kind of unique organisms in the sea, the slowest fish in the ocean, the seahorse, up to the largest fish in the ocean, the whale sharks. We have programs involved in all of these departments, and these are the organisms that we get to interact with on a regular basis and do work on. We also just get to explore and create new things. We're working with the ocean, we're trying to save it. There's a lot of room for creativity and innovation. So if you're someone who is an artist and has lots of ideas, but you want to have a career that's rewarding and helps the ocean, that's great. We have people on our team like that as well. Up on the screen here, you can see some of the work by my colleague Spencer Arnold. And he's done some incredible underwater sculptures that are also artificial reefs that not only help to protect the environment, but also kind of make people think and in a different ways, things that you can't express in words, but only through art. And lastly, probably the most important one to me, the most important perk of this job is just the people you're around. I'm sure you have it through school and the jobs that you may have done, part-time or summer jobs. You show up and you're not exactly thrilled with everybody at the place where you're at. There might be some who you're friends with and others who have different views or interests than you do. When you're doing a job that you love, when you're there because it's from the heart, everybody else is there for the same reason. And so I find in this job, it's so wonderful to be around people. They're optimistic, they're wanting to help, they love the ocean just like I do. And I've had thousands of students over the last 14 years. And, sometimes they show up and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if this person is like me, if I'm going to get along with them. And after a moment of talking to them, you realize, oh, this is another wonderful person who's here for the same reason I am. And so being in a job where you're there for your heart and not for your wallet means that you will always be around wonderful people that you will enjoy to work with and be happy and make friends for life. So I hope that over the course of this talk, I have explained to you the need that we have around the world for more people involved in marine conservation. And I hope I've also expressed the value in such a career and how rewarding it can be. And lastly, how we need a very diverse group of individuals with many different backgrounds and skills in order to address the problems that we see around the world. And so I hope that I've done a good job convincing you. But if I haven't, I would like to introduce a few of my colleagues and let them say a few words.
Hello, my name is Pablo. I'm from Spain. I think I'm a good example of someone who didn't study anything related to the marine environment, and I ended up working in this field. Actually, I studied graphic design, and after a long time of working for a TV channel, I decided to change a bit, and we moved to Thailand, where I worked for 6 years doing coral restoration. During all this time, I've been using my skills to create graphics and illustrations and videos and photos so they can help this cause that's protecting the coral reefs. I think it's important that all of us, it doesn't matter what area you come from, you can use your knowledge to help protect our planet. Yeah. So I encourage you to find your motivation and fight for it. Yeah. Good luck.
The sea cast its spell on me since I was a little boy. I love all the weird-looking critters that I see beneath the wave. So like a usual kid, I snuck in dead fish that I found by the beach to keep them at home. But my mom didn't like the smell too much, so my fish were thrown away. Quite a weird childhood memory, but I love it. Growing up, I have been fortunate enough to work with what I love. First, as a marine biologist studying shark fisheries in Margaux. But after I learned that they were fished out to near depletion around the waters of my country, Thailand, I want more and more people to know and care about it, so I ended up becoming a conservation photographer to tell the stories on the sea instead. With the Explorer grant, I have been covering marine conservation issues of the Miat archipelago of Myanmar, a group of over 800 islands that is a key diversity area of the Andaman Sea and have been little explored by science. But it is also under serious threat from intensive exploitation as Myanmar opens up to the world. So I had been hopping among these islands, collaborate with several NGOs over there in the hope to reach the general public and policy makers in Myanmar to drive the conservation and management efforts in this threatened archipelago. It was quite an interesting year. Went out on a hunt with a Moroccan sea nomad or slipped on a fish guts in the middle of the night on a trawler and get spooked out when a sea snake decided to be too friendly and played hide and seek beside my face. And then the pandemic hit. I managed to cross back to Thailand before Myanmar closed down its border that night, but it put my project to a halt completely. I totally lost my way back then, since without doing this job, I don't really know what to do with my life. Somehow, I was lucky enough to be able to keep photographing stories through the NGS COVID-19 Emergency Fund, so I spent 3 months covering the COVID-19 situation in Thailand from the peak of the outbreak until the situation got in control. And just right after that, Thailand experienced democratic uprising, where the youth called for democratic reform from the military government and the monarchy. So I have been covering this major social change of my country up until now. But at last, I am now back at sea again to document my home water, the Andaman Sea of Thailand, as an expansion of my project in the Miat archipelago. Since these areas are located just right next to each other, nourished by the same current, and the marine resources are shared between Thailand and Myanmar in the same sea. So I am roaming the Andaman coast in collaboration with marine scientists and NGOs here to support the ongoing effort to drive transboundary management between these two neighboring countries. I should be out here for a long while before I can finish my project, but you can follow up on my progress on Instagram, Chinelodon, that's Chin and Megalodon. And I hope you will enjoy the story I will be sharing. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, my name is Margaux and I'm a marine biologist. Specifically, I work mostly on corals and coral reef restoration. Now, I grew up in a really small country called Monaco, which is located in south of France, just at the border of Italy. So I grew up on the Mediterranean, where I really started learning about the marine environment. But my love for the ocean and corals really came when I started studying in Australia, where I got my PhD from. I now work as a consultant, especially I work for the UN Environmental Program, working on how to assist the implementations of more coral reef restoration programs all around the world. And between my studies and my work, I was really lucky to travel to many places and many reefs around the world. And I really quickly realized that the more diverse a reef is, the better it is. It's more beautiful, it's more healthy, and more importantly, it works at its best. We really need corals and fish of all sizes, colors, and shapes. The other things I realized is that the concept of diversity applies to the work we do as scientists as well. Now we need to go diving, we need to collect data, analyze data, write up the data, and sometimes even present it so that we can reach the public and pass the message across. And the more diverse the team you have, the better chances you have to have people who can really be top-notch in each of those different tasks. So there is a lot of strength in diversity in science. When you bring people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, then you get such different perspectives that really allow you to have a better overall understanding of what's going on. If we think of coral restoration specifically, there are now projects in many different reef regions. That's people also from different backgrounds and different ethnicities, but there's also different stakeholders, or what we call people who have different reasons to start a restoration project. It could be people involved in the tourism industry that are seeing their reefs being degraded and they need to bring it back so the tourism and the tourists can enjoy the reef. Or it can be some fishermen who want their reef to come back so the fish can come back and they can keep fishing, maybe a little more sustainably. But what I mean in there is that, once again, there is diversity. There is strength in the diversity of understanding what's going on. When those people get to restoring their reefs, they might do it differently, bringing on different methods, and once they communicate about this, we can really better understand all the different strategies out there to help save our reefs for the future. My main message, I guess, is that don't be scared to speak up. Your opinion matters, no matter your background. All you need is passion. I really hope that helps a little bit, and I wish you all the best.
Hey everyone, my name's Elle. I'm one of the board members of Conservation Diver, and I'm currently based in Australia. I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on why diversity is important. Well, firstly, I do believe that diversity is really important. I think it's essential for team building and for problem solving. Each and every one of us obviously has a unique set of experiences, and depending on our gender, our origin, religion, etc., it gives us a lot of different perspectives and different approaches to how we do things, and especially in a workforce, but also I believe within friendship groups and university groups and so on forth. Having a diverse set of people with different perspectives is always better for team building and progress. I'm pretty sure it's statistically true that more diverse workforces generally have a lot more success in their outcomes. So yeah, diversity is really, really good. Teamwork makes the dream work, and a diverse team is a really, really good place to start.
Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and I'm a marine biologist currently living in Thailand. So I currently manage a conservation program, and one of the great things with this program is just the sheer diversity of people we get coming through. So we get people coming from 1 day up to 4 months, everyone having a different background and a different reason for being there. And the one thing that's really great about all of this is that everyone has the same kind of goals in mind, is that they wanted to come and do something meaningful with their trip, with their holiday, and give back to the environment, which is an incredible thing. We get students that are 12-year-old, we get students that are 70 years old. So it's a really nice kind of diverse collection of people that we can really help and instill all of this knowledge and different values about the marine ecosystem. So originally I'm from the UK, and growing up, one of the things that happened to me was that I always wanted to be a marine biologist for as long as I can remember. For anyone that knows me will tell you the same thing. And I was very fortunate to have parents and grandparents that supported that. But one of the things I did find was that growing up in at least the area where I lived was that there was very few people that really understood what marine biology was. So because there was that lack of knowledge, one of the things that happened were people like, well, you're never going to do that because we've never heard of it. But it did mean that it kind of pushed me a little bit more to really get to where I wanted to be. And I've been incredibly unfortunate with some of the opportunities that I've had come out of being here and also having this as a career. So for anyone that's interested in marine biology, all I can say is go for it. It's something that is incredibly eye-opening. It's something that you would enjoy. There are certainly times where it's hard, but then being around so many people that have these same interests and being able to instill kind of different knowledge and just see the enthusiasm from people that came here just as something a bit different. We've also had people that have come through and then have had complete career changes because of what they've learned. And it's really interesting to see because these are people that previously have just normal jobs and then come through the program and they're like, oh my God, I've been in the wrong job all my time. I need to do this. This is what I want to do. This is exactly what I should be doing. So it's really, really cool that we get the opportunity to kind of expand their knowledge in this area and really help push them to see what their potential is. So for anyone that is interested in this career, all I can really say is go for it. Don't let anything hold you back because it is something that is an incredible atmosphere. It's an incredible opportunity to have, and it's something that I have yet to regret doing. So for anyone that's interested, good luck guys, and hopefully we'll see you in the field soon.
Hello everyone, my name is Shakida and I'm from Singapore. About 7 years ago, I joined the 2-week marine conservation program with one of Conservation Divers Certification Center in Thailand. So my interest in the field increased so much within those 2 weeks that I actually took a break from my regular job to pursue this passion. What stood out for me about Conservation Diver is that they accepted anyone who had an interest in marine science. So that speaks volumes because by joining a program that accepts individuals from different walks of life, these different individuals were able to bring different skill sets to the table. I actually got a role teaching marine science in one of the best diving spots in the world, that is the Galapagos Island. So because of my nursing background, I was also able to bring my knowledge from nursing in taking care of the health and wellness of the students. So how's that for diversity? Having a nurse teaching marine science. So if you do have an interest in pursuing a career in marine science, go for it. I wish everyone all the best in choosing a career, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.